Rampage.
Hey guys, this is Wisper, coming at you again with another IO commentary video. This one I haven't done in a long time. I'm taking a full game that I've played, and I'm going to commentate over it about the items that I buy, the decisions that I make, try and give you guys a little bit more insight into what I'm thinking at the time. I used to do these videos quite often, but I stopped because you can only do so many of them between changes. You know, if I keep on talking about the same things over and over and over, it's going to get pretty boring. But Valve heard my cries and decided to update the game every 16 hours, so now we have lots of changes that I can talk about. So let's talk about what's going on in this game. First, my items. You can see here that I have 3 mangoes in my inventory. This is not normal. Io is not a bonus hero today, so I did buy all 3 of those mangoes myself, but I did it because I knew that I was going to lane with a Morphling. And while I don't play Morphling myself, what I know of Morphling is that he's going to run around with low HP, but high damage in order to try and harass and get last hits in the lane. So because he's going to have low HP, low total HP, a very small amount of passive regen is going to have a big impact for him. He doesn't need to gain 1,000 HP in a second, he only has 500 HP total. So giving him slow passive regen, that was my thought process. Normally I would launch into the game with 1 mango and 2 salves, but in this specific situation I thought because I was going to be laning with a morph, I would try and supplement my passive HP regen. I'm in a lane with Morphling against a Pangolier, and I think another player might show up at some point, but for right now, my job is to box out the Pango while Morphling gets last hits. Morphling is the carry, and I am the support, at least for now. You guys will see that change pretty rapidly as the game progresses. And that's kind of the reason I chose this game. I win this game. Me. TA helps. No one else does. I'm quite proud of this game, and the reason that I chose it for you guys, I think the reason you'll like it, is this is a game where we do not have a crushing lead. The off lane totally screws up, as you guys can see. They're garbage. The Sniper and the Tide Hunter are very bad players. They completely throw the off lane to a Meepo, and as anyone who plays Dota knows, the number one thing you don't want to do with a Meepo is, 1, give him an early lead, or, you know, generally speaking, don't feed the Meepo. Don't give him gold, don't give him deaths, don't give him free farm, don't allow him to get fat, because he's going to be borderline unstoppable once he is. And that's exactly what they do. They let that Meepo get enormous. And the struggle of this game is to how to outplay the Meepo, and you guys are going to see what I do to counter that soon enough. But as of right now, we're doing pretty well in this lane. Pango is taking a whole lot of bullying. I have regen up the wazoo. As you guys can see, I've actually just used my first tango. 3 minutes of harassing this Pango, no tango. So you can see that the 3 mangoes I have in my inventory, Pango, Mango, Tango. This is going to be a complicated little wordplay I'm going to have to keep up with. The mangoes in my inventory are doing just enough regen to keep me happy in this lane. Morphling has complete control, which is good because Meepo has complete control top, and I'm just trying to give him as good of a head start as I can. As it is, I'm sort of I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to understand what's happening in top lane. I get really frustrated because I can see how bad this is for us. So I decide to leave the Morphling and go top. I know that I've given Morphling a great head start, even though we are 2 versus 1 in that lane, which means Pango gets more XP than we do. I think Morphling and Pango are the same level, and Morphling has more last hits because I've been babysitting him. So I feel like if there's something I can do top to if there's something I can do top to slow the acceleration of this Meepo, then it's something I should try to do, since Morphling seems to be fine. So you see me come top in order to try and babysit this lane. I think here, the fact that I'm not moving, I'm communicating to TA wants help middle, and I'm trying to tell TA that I need to stay up here to babysit this lane. But you guys will see in the next minute or two that there are kill opportunities that we have that we are just not taking. As it is, I'm pinging this Tide because Tide is directly in the hook range of Pudge, and we know that they have 3 people top, so the last thing that we want to do is set up anyone to be hooked out of position. Sniper, if he gets hooked, is obviously instantly dead, and I think at this point Sniper has 3 deaths in 5 minutes, which is pretty clear as to what he's doing this lane. And the Tide, while tanky and survivable, is not really using it to his advantage. He's not... Actually, I take that back. This is probably the best thing that he's done so far. Is he used his tankiness to approach the Lion without fear of dying, and was able to set up a good kill onto Lion. Beyond that, while I am definitely upset at both of these players and their performance this game, at least Tide had some sense. Later on in this game, you'll see Sniper's items. I think it's 17 minutes he has Treads and Iron Branch and 4 empty slots in his inventory. So Sniper really doesn't know what he's doing. And there's only so much of that you can babysit until at some point you have to figure out how to deal with it yourself. But as you can see here, these guys they recognize, one, that they're losing, so they're trying to play somewhat defensively, at least now that I'm here. Pudge gets a good hook off, but as you can see, Tether, as long as you have Tether off of cooldown, your escape options are relatively open. Depending on, if you get hooked as the last allied creep dies, you're basically dead if there's no heroes, but you can see from the skill of this Pudge that I think it's Pudge that got the setups on the Sniper and just set up his old friend Meepo, who's totally left, by the way, for kills. And this is actually a big problem that Meepo has left the lane. The whole reason I was here was to try and slow the progress of Meepo, and Meepo, being a very intelligent player, has left the lane as soon as a third player shows up. He doesn't want to risk losing his strong lead, so he's run right into the jungle, while letting the Lion and the Pudge sort of babysit his lane for him. He is relatively sure that Sniper's not going to be a problem anytime soon, so why take the risk? In fact, we can see him on the minimap now. I wasn't able to see this during the game, but you can see him now farming the other side of the map. And very quickly, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. I'm not getting any kills onto Meepo. I'm not helping these players who don't want to get kills. They just want to try and gain the farm back that they've lost for the past five minutes. And even here, I'm trying to hide in the jungle. If I'm trying to make it seem like I've already left the lane, so that if they decide, okay, there's only 2 players here, now I can dive onto Tidehunter, an IO can show up with spirits and do some damage. But and even here, oh man, my play has finally worked. Meepo has shown up. He thinks I'm not here, so we can actually make a gank play onto Meepo because there's 3 of us in this lane, and he only thinks that there's 2 of us. So I'm trying to strategically set myself up. I have level 5, so I have level 3 spirits, which is good damage on spirits. And all I need someone to do is run into a Meepo. And I'm pinging. And I'm pinging. All they have is 2 of them. There's 3 of us. Lion is there, but Lion's off to the side. Okay, now we know that they're in the big camp jungling. All we have to do is walk up to them. They're already taking damage from big creeps. They're already distracted, and it's 3 on 3. We have to kill this Meepo. Please, somebody. And I think this is where I leave. This is the point in the game where I officially give up on Tide and Sniper. And you'll see me just not give a shit about them for the rest of the game. I'm sure I'll try and passively heal them if I have nothing better to do, but I'm not giving out my heals for them, like my tangos or my salves or my urn charges later on. I'm not killing myself in order to save them through relocate. They're garbage players. And what you have to, as someone who's played IO for a really long time, I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again because I think it's the right philosophy to play Dota with, from a support perspective, is that if there are people on your team who suck ass, don't waste your time on them. Go play with somebody, go heal somebody who is actually going to do something with the lead that you're giving them. And in this game, that person turns out to be TA. And you'll see me figure that out in the next couple of minutes when this Morphling just kind of sits idle for a long time. But the whole aspect of being able to play a hero that directly strengthens and buffs another hero is that if you're buffing someone who has who has 5 IQ so that they survive longer, they do more damage, but they're picking their nose and they're not clicking the right buttons and they don't give a shit about the game, then you, as the IO player, are making an error. It's the other player's fault for being shit, but it's your fault for playing with a player you know to be shit. And therein lies the difference. Yeah, they're terrible players, but it's up to you to identify where you need to be on the map and the cores that you can play with. And right now, it looks like Morphling and TA. Morphling's doing great right now. He's pushing in, playing very aggressively. I know that I still have another salve in my backpack, so while I still have no urn, I know that in a quick pinch I can heal myself and somebody up quite nicely. Here we're waiting for Pango to have his ultimate end, and we end up getting the kill. And things are looking up at this point. Even though Meepo is really big, we seem to have early game tower domination. We've pushed in bottom lane, and now we're pushing in middle. So things are okay for right now. Of course, that's how things are against an early game Meepo, but we'll see how that evolves soon. Always going to purchase the... what's it called? The book that gives XP? I'm not entirely sure. It slipped my mind right now. But always the Tome of Knowledge. Always out to get that Tome, guys. Tome on IO is really big. His talents are goddamn enormous. Making sure that you can get your talents faster makes you stronger faster. So always go for the Tome on IO. And the rest of my items are relatively straightforward. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about them as we were going. I got a soul ring as my first item because I need to make sure I could give MP to both myself as well as to my lane partner. I go for a stick, not a wand. I think this is one of the big changes that comes from 7.15. That now that they have taken the HP regen out of wand, it doesn't... The rush to get wand isn't there anymore. I would used to get a wand before I went for my Urn of Shadows. Now I go backwards. I get my Urn first and I get my wand second. Having that 1.5 passive HP regen was really fantastic. It complemented your regen on top of Soul Ring regen on top of Mango regen. Just better able to passively heal yourself as well as other allied heroes. And now that the regen's been taken out, it's better to rush the Urn of Shadows so that you can get charges faster on your Urn and then prioritize the wand second. So you'll see here I have my Soul Ring done, I have my Urn done, and you see I have my wand done. And this is my main core set of items. Here we can see, again, this Pudge is pretty good at hooking, and we're going to have to try and play around that big lion ultimate that I eat, but thankfully I have enough HP that I'm able to survive, back off, and heal myself back up to full HP using the Urn. We can see from the side of the net worth of the game, which obviously we don't know at the time in the game, but as you guys can see, Meepo is doing quite well for himself. He's taken the early kills that he's gotten in his lane on Sniper and Tide, and he's run right into the jungle to try and snowball really fat from jungle creeps. And so far, it's working. Morphling is thankfully keeping up by, me giving him an early lead is thankfully paid off. I think we've lost bottom tower, unfortunately, but it's given him a lot of space. He has a lot of jungle space. Unfortunately, we can see him as literally as I say this, he's getting killed bottom. I don't know how he lost his tower. I don't know who was down there to push it. I don't know, but I think there's an argument to be made, and maybe some people will talk about it in the comments at this point about how this is a great time to ward up our jungle, so that we have sort of confirmed. We have guaranteed farming space. If we ward our bottom jungle right now, we can tell when people are coming in to gank it, and we'll be able to keep other people alive. I think at this point, I decide instead to focus on turning myself into a core. I'm rapidly realizing that Sniper is completely dead weight for this game, as well as Tidehunter, at least in terms of damage. Tidehunter can absorb some damage, and he can cast his ultimates, and he does use both of those things relatively well this game. But he has no damage, and while Morphling is pretty survivable, Morphling, especially in this game, doesn't come online for a really long time, despite having a great net worth lead right now. So the next item that I go for is a drums. I like drums. Oh, there we go. We see from this also that Meepo has a Shadow Blade, so he's farmed that up in 15 minutes in the jungle. What I have gone for is drums, and I like drums quite a bit because, again, in the 7.14 changes, Io's move speed matches his tether target's move speed. So boots and other things that increase your own move speed don't matter, because 50% of the game or more you're tethered to somebody else. So drums increases the speed of somebody else, which increases your speed through tether. So drums is always a really nice choice, not just as a sort of boots backup, because obviously it's far more expensive than boots, but it gives you fantastic stats, including quite a bit of strength, which is great for keeping you quite tanky. It gives you intelligence, and Io has a very small mana pool. So obviously, while we're supplementing it quite heavily with Soul Ring, it's great to have that bonus intelligence that comes from drums. Not only that, but the activation of drums is great for movement speed and for attack speed. And for me, that reads three big things. One is escape, one is attack, like you see right now, and one is for pushing towers. So having that drums in your backpack really allows you to do some things that Io wouldn't normally be able to do, or he would be able to do, but at a much higher cost. For instance, Io can push using Overcharge, but Overcharge costs mana and it costs HP. So if you're in a situation where maybe you don't want to do that, or you want to accelerate that even further, activating a drums charge on top of Overcharge really helps to increase the rate at which you're pushing down towers, killing enemy players, etc., etc. And in fact, I think you'll see another example of that here. I'm with TA. I think at this point I've realized that TA is the one who is going to win this game with me. And we see that Meepo is dead here, and we want to push this tower down before they have any chance of scaring us off. So Overcharge, drums, and everyone wails on the tower before Meepo can get back up and we're able to take it out. Instances like that is where drums really come in handy. Being able to, if you only have 5 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds to hit this object, let's get as much damage on there as possible in that limited time frame. And drums is fantastic for that. And next you can see me going for Helm of the Dominator. This is a classic. How dare I speak so early? In this specific game, before I go for Helm of the Dominator, I decide to go for Hood of Defiance. Not for the entirety of Pipe, but just for Hood. And my thought process at the time was a bit flawed. My idea was that Meepo is the big threat on their team, and the main way Meepo does damage at this point in the game is through poof. All the Meepos poofing on top of each other, and poof is magic damage. So a great way for me to survive an initial onslaught of poof is by having magic damage resistance, which Hood of Defiance is a great anti-magic damage item. Not only that, it gives incredibly high HP regen, which is great for Io, especially as Io has Tether, etc. You know, this is all pretty classic stuff, but I got it specifically in this game for the Meepo poof, which isn't the greatest choice, because it's not a counter as much as it is a little bit of a buffer between that damage and you. Like, having a Hood of Defiance is not going to keep you alive from a complete Meepo onslaught, and that's why I'm not sure it's the best item for that specific move. But it also works in this case for Lion's ultimate, which is a great way. Lions love to burst down IOs by just ulting them, as well as Shadow Fiend ultimate, which would be another classic setup for like a one-shot play to kill an IO would be, you know, Yule Scepter, Shadow Fiend ultimate. So having a Hood is also going to help deal with those incredibly strong burst damage as well. And then from here, you see me building back into Veil of Discord. What Hood of Defiance gives us in magic resistance, Veil of Discord gives us in physical damage resistance. It gives us armor, it gives us HP regen, it gives us additional stats, including a lot more intelligence, again, to buff the mana pool of IO, keep you casting those spirits. It also combos very nicely with the mana regen that you get through drums. So even if you have to sell your soul ring later in the game, you're still relatively mana competent because you have not only a fat mana pool, but you have good amounts of regen coming through that as well. And then obviously using Veil of Discord combos very well with your level 15 plus 90 spirits buff, which allows you to do quite a lot of damage using only your spirits. I think it's close to 1,000 magic damage. No, it wouldn't be over 1,000. It would be around 900 or so. But even still, 900 actual damage after 900 life points of damage per spirit, not actual magic damage, which would be then lowered through magic resistance. I've already done that math for you. Now I'm just rambling. But yeah, I don't know how that played out in this game. I don't think I heard we didn't hear the Meepo TP in, and then we just happened to be farming in a really terrible position as they all set up on us. And TA ultimately eats it here as well. Punishment for bad map awareness. But yeah, this is just more evidence of how big this Meepo is getting, how out of control this is, and how useless Sniper and Tide are. Maybe I'm grouping in Tide too heavily, but Sniper very specifically is hot garbage. And I apologize for being aggressive over YouTube. This game I played days ago. I don't know why I would even be aggressive in my voiceover, but I don't know, man. Something about people being terrible at this game just triggers me, and yeah, that guy is sad. Another example of how he's terrible, don't go invis items against a Meepo, because when you are trapped by the root of Meepo, even if you are invis, they see you. So invis is not a way to escape a Meepo. I wish it was. Glimmer Cape would be my #1 option every single time. But unfortunately, Sniper spends 22 minutes to get one item that doesn't counter the only player killing him. So, not a great logical choice there. In fact, you can see me attempt to try and counterplay this Meepo by having a bit of dust on me. Again, I think a lot of people would say, well, this is a great time to just get a shit ton of sentry wards and make sure that the Meepo cannot walk up on you when you are while he's invis in Shadowblade. And I think that is a viable option, but it's a very expensive option. I think to get enough sentry wards to be able to accurately track a Meepo is going to be close to 1,000 gold in wards. We're looking at least 7-8 sentry wards in order to watch the Meepo, let alone actually be in the right position and have my relocate ready and have other players nearby to actually deal with the Meepo when he shows up. So in my idea this game is not to try to outplay the Meepo by killing the Meepo and by countering the Meepo by buying the right items that will allow me to survive his onslaught. My idea is to outplay the Meepo by using my positional advantage, IO's relocate, and my pushing advantage with overcharge and drums and things like that in order to try and outposition the Meepo. Just crush his base down before he can crush mine down, and that's the tactic for this game. You see here that the TA has gone for Deso, which is fantastic for pushing, a classic TA item, and we've managed to push down the first set of racks, again using overcharge and drums charges to help increase the rate that we can push before they gather the strength or the balls or whatever you want to call it, the chutzpah, to push us out of their base. And this is an interesting setup from what we can see on the minimap now. Their middle tower is gone, but and that's actually quite nice. if an IO is going to be split pushing with a relocate, you want to be split pushing the towers that are farthest away from one another. If all the creeps push in top lane, you can relocate to bottom lane because backdoor is down, and you can push bottom tower. And by the time they run all the way from top tower to bottom tower, you've left, because relocate only lasts for 12 seconds. If you are pushing middle tower and their top tower, it's much quicker for them to run to you to kill you. So this is a good setup in that we've pushed middle. Unfortunately, we don't have the tier 2 tower top. Here I try and make a very ballsy play to take out this lion, but because I am bad and I can't control spirits the way I want to, I'm not able to kill him as quickly as I like, and I think do I die to Meepo here? I killed the Meepo, actually. I am able to surprise the Meepo by showing him that I have a level 15 talent that gives me bonus damage to my spirits, and here I'm able to just catch the Pudge vision-wise, but unfortunately the number of times I cast Urn of Shadows on a Pudge thinking, oh, there's no way he'll be able to rot himself to death now, and then he does, is really sad. But my thought process was, if I have Urn on the Pudge, he won't be able to rot, I'll get the kill, and I think twice this game that fails, so don't follow that logic, kids. That's a tip for you. Next, I think the item that I'll be going for is Spirit Vessel, even though I don't have it up yet. In other games, there might be a argument for me to go for Desolator in order to help push faster. Once I hit level 20, which I'm very close to, and I get the Attack Tether talent, being able to have the additional damage, but also the armor strip from Deso can be really big for getting late game kills. But this game, TA has already gone for Deso. So I'm specifically thinking do not get Deso, because double Deso buff doesn't do anything. It's not a real thing. So with that in mind, I'm definitely going for Spirit Vessel first, which is going to increase my Urn of Shadows for the end game. It's going to make the damage more damagey, it's going to make the heal more healy, and it's also going to stop the enemy team from regenning HP, at least 70% of it. While that's not a huge threat on their team, it's a nice bonus, and ultimately the burst heal that comes out of this item is really fantastic. So
top tower is under attack.
I think the play that we're trying to make at this point in the game, and you can see that I've refilled my drums. I've rebought the recipe for drums, 575 gold, because I know that there are going to be times later in this game where I'm going to want to push, and I'm going to want to push fast. I know that if I'm going to be playing against a Meepo, and the way that I'm going to be beating this Meepo is by relocating and pushing hard with this TA in 12-second windows, because that's how long my relocate is, I know that I'm going to want to amplify that 12 seconds as much as possible. There's also an argument to be made for this, because when Io hits level 20, every time his allied partner attacks, he attacks. And when you activate drums, you speed up how fast your allies attack, which makes you attack faster through tether, as well as you actually attacking faster through your normal attack speed. So drums are really fantastic. A lot of really high-level players don't refill their drums charges. I secretly love it. So it's something that I'm a big fan of, and it tends to work out in our favor. I see here that everyone is relocating to top tower, so I relocate to bottom tower. Everyone's TPing to top tower, sorry. And I think I screw up here. I think what I should have done is left the TA, knowing that they were waiting for me. And as we can see, they're all here waiting for me, and they kill me when I come back. Thankfully, TA is good enough that he knows how to escape and he gets out, but that was an error on my part. What I should have done is I should have left TA at bottom tower, and as they were killing me top, TA could have continued to push. And he probably would have gotten at least 1 Rax, if not 2, had I left him there. So that was a very unfortunate play on my part. I really could have done quite a bit better. And somehow they're able to hook the TA out of the jungle despite not having vision on him. So very impressive by their Pudge again. But as you can see, we're starting to pick their base apart. Every time it happens, we're losing more ground than we're gaining, if that makes sense. I think they're getting more kills on us than we're getting on them, but we're picking away at their base. And if we can keep this rate of attrition up, eventually they'll have a greater lead than we do, but they won't have any base. And ultimately, that's what wins you the game. It doesn't matter if they have 45 kills. If they don't have an Ancient, that's the game. So, at this point, I think I am trying to finish up what I can. I've just bought the tome so that I can guarantee that I'm going to hit level 20, despite hitting level 20 from that creep wave. Aya wants to hit level 25, you know, decreasing that relocate cooldown, getting that permanent healing. That's fantastic as well. So, tomes all the way through the game, always a fantastic item. Here I can see that someone is invis on top of me, and I think, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, it's Meepo, I'm dead. And sure enough, it is a level 18 Shadow Fiend who has decided to try and gank me despite me being 3 levels above him, and somehow I survived that interaction. If that was a Meepo, I would have been 1700% dead, without a chance in hell. So I'm really happy that turned out to be the Shadow Fiend. I remember all those ping spams. It was me shitting my pants, trying to tell my team, come here, come here, come here. This is where Meepo is. He's gonna kill me. Let's try and pick him off. And thankfully, a 10 HP Shadow Fiend just showed up. So. You see, next I finish off the Hood of Defiance into Pipe. It's not very much gold at this point, and the additional magic resistance for the team will be really helpful. This Lion decides to show up and attempts to kill the Courier, but ultimately gets destroyed. I think he's actually level 10 or 15, and I'm 22. So thankfully they have some players on their team that are as bad as our sniper is. And you can see me here, I'm pinging the TA, and I'm pinging him that I have my tether. I have self-recognized that I'm staying away from the best player on my team, and that is a mistake. So you see me run to my TA, find my TA, and say, let's stick together, buddy, because ultimately it's you and me to win this. Again, the net worth suggests that Morphling is up there as well, but the reality of his items and his gameplay sort of, I think Morphling kind of stopped a little while ago. He's a bit more farm hungry than he is battle hungry, if that makes sense. But yeah, as we can see, I'm starting to do, by running with the PA, we're able to run into kills a little bit safer. Again, another Invis player is able to pick up the haste rune, which is very scary, but also you can see me starting to make some strange logical errors here in my item purchasing, and I think what I really need to do is have some sort of item in my inventory that's going to help me see invis, whether that's dust, whether that's a gem, whether those are sentries. I need something, not just for the Meepo, but I think they have a glimmer cape on 1 if not 2 of their other heroes. So having some sort of invis vision is really important. But what I've done is I've built a lot of small items that don't expand into bigger items. Drums can't go anywhere, Pipe I've finished, Helm doesn't go anywhere, Spirit Vessel's at max. So if I'm gonna get another item, which I need to do, I need to sell something, and I need to sell another thing in order to hold space for my invis items. But for now, the drums charges are being used. The moment that we get the enemy's melee racks, the ranged racks do not matter, guys. Don't care. As soon as we get their melee racks, I relocate top in order to try and push as much as top tower as we can. The Meepo comes in to try and kill us, but thankfully can't do enough damage in time, and we're able to move back to bottom, where they're already spread out. Their Meepo is now top, other people move bottom to try and stop the initial push, and now that they're spread out, we can pick them off. Especially now that their main hero, the Meepo, is somewhere else. And here we are trying to take advantage of the fact that we're pushing in. So we run back to top tower. Overcharge is on, drums is activated, and we're just trying to crush down pals. Make sure to tether to someone who's attacking fast. Morphling is a great choice now that he's here pushing. And that's most of it. This is not over yet. We still have to push in the final bits, but those megas are a big deal. You see what I've purchased here is Malnir, or is that Malnir or is that the downgraded version? The idea here is that Malnir is great for... Let's see if I can deal with this Meepo. I think I can actually. I think Meepo kills us all here. Oh yeah, I relocate, which is a very poor decision. Again, I think it was that was a very bad decision because my TPs were not in my backpack. If I had been smart enough to like tether out to some creeps, gain a bit of distance, I could have just TP'd out and I wouldn't have had to come back, which ultimately killed me. Very poor choice of moves there. Could have done quite a bit better. But again, you see from the items that I'm running with, I have about 8 or 9 items for a 6-slot inventory, and I'm going to have to start consolidating pretty soon. I'm not entirely sure that I want to refill my drums for a second time. Something tells me that might not be worth it. And normally, instead of Malnir, what I was saying before the Meepo showed up is Malnir is a great item because it allows you to have a greater impact in team fights. The lightning bounces that come from activating its Maelstrom, not Malnir, damn it. The lightning bounces that come off of Maelstrom allow you to deal increased magic damage to people within a team fight, which combos very well with your Veil of Discord, as well as the attack tether talent that comes at level 20. So not only is Maelstrom great for pushing and for team fights and also farming, but it gives you additional damage and procs off of the attacks that come from the level 20 attack tether talent. Normally, I would prioritize Desolator over Maelstrom, because what Io is ultimately doing is pushing and using his relocate in order to outpush the enemy. So Desolator strips armor from towers, which is a better pushing item than a Maelstrom. However, we already have a Deso on the TA. So my thought process here is that I want to have bigger team fight impact, I want to increase my kill potential, I want to get a Malnir. And then secondarily, you know, Stick is becoming less effective at this point. I would like a space in my inventory to put down drums, and I'm going to let this play out. This is my favorite clip of the whole. Not too shabby, huh, guys? Not too shabby at all. And now, I don't know where their Meepo is. He just respawned. No, he didn't. I'm sorry. The line just respawned. I'm relatively sure that their Meepo is off killing somebody else. So the only thing I feel I can do right now is push. I tether to a ranged creep. I activate overcharge. I'm level 25, so I'm constantly gaining HP. And I'm using my attacks and the attacks from the range creep, which is the fastest attacking creep, is the range creep, and I am using that to push into their racks. Unfortunately, the Meepo shows up and kills me, and even more unfortunately is I didn't choose the minus 60 second relocate talent, where I could have immediately relocated back upon dying and gone again, but instead we have to wait a mere 10 seconds to bring the TA with us, and we can do it all over again. But this is what I mean by Io wins the game, guys. You know, I don't have the highest net worth in the game. I don't even have the highest net worth on my team. But as you guys can see, I have committed a great deal of energy and item choice and positional currency to get my players where they need to be, get myself where we need to be, and to make sure that what we're doing in the limited time that we have wins the game. So that Meepo had 24 kills that game, and I had 17, and thank God we were able to make it work. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you gained a little bit of insight. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you guys soon. See ya.